Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're joined here tonight in the studio by Ambassador Medhat Meligy, the former Assistant Foreign Minister. Your Excellency, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you. Good evening.
Mr. Ambassador, now the results are out. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi secured a third term up until 2030, but how would you evaluate the electoral process as a whole with the four candidates and President al-Sisi winning with 89.6%? How would you evaluate the whole process?
Well, actually, I mean, the first thing that I would like to mention is the transparency in which the whole process took place. I mean, all the candidates had the right to talk to their supporters and to try to secure as much as they could. Of course, I mean, we have to give a certain credit to what's going on in the region. This actually made the victory of President al-Sisi rather easier than what it was supposed to be. I mean, people have seen the position of the president vis-a-vis the current event that we are seeing in Palestine, and especially in Gaza Strip.
Yes.
And people felt that they need this person to be in charge for the coming 6 years, because he's the one that can secure its border, that can continue with the economic progress that we have seen so far, although we'll talk about this in detail. But maybe the circumstances helped President al-Sisi to secure his place, and that's why we see this high result, whether we're talking about voters, the number of voters who actually participated is rather high in what some people called secured win. And the reason for that is that people wanted to show their support for the president in the coming year. They feel the danger in which Egypt is facing because of the turmoil in the whole region. And they want to give the president a certain assurance of their support and backing him in the years to come. And maybe this was the most important lesson, if we may draw a lesson from the elections, and that people want to show the president that they support him and that they actually accept the conditions that he proposed before the elections.
Your Excellency, now, there were 67 million eligible voters, and the turnout was about 66.8%, which, as the National Election Authority mentioned, the highest turnout ever in Egyptian history. And you've highlighted that what's happening in Gaza is a main reason why the voters actually were very keen to exercise their political right. So do you feel that it was a safe, wise decision to let President al-Sisi go on with his presidential duties, trying to deal with such a delicate and sensitive issue of national security, because it does constitute a clear and present danger? Is it a much more realistic choice to have the president go on with his duties instead of having a new one and trying to adapt and understand, or try and adapt their own dynamics and how to deal with the situation on our eastern borders?
Well, let me tell you the following. I mean, if we just recall in our report that we've seen a few minutes ago, and when the President al-Sisi mentioned that he's a regular Egyptian who was born and lived in an Egyptian neighborhood, he understands the people. The Palestinian cause is very dear to the Egyptian people. And if we accepted the pressure put on us by the international community, and especially by Israel, to forcibly displace the Palestinian into Egypt, that would mean the liquidation of the Palestinian cause, which is something nobody in Egypt would like to see. Some people think that we just don't want newcomers to Egypt. But this has been refuted by the millions of refugees,
Syrian refugees,
exactly, who are living in Egypt. So, I mean, a couple of million Palestinians wouldn't actually dramatize the whole picture. So this is not the case. But the idea is not to liquidate the Palestinian cause. And because of this, the people actually found themselves in the words of President Sisi when he said that this is a red line, cannot be crossed. The Egyptian borders cannot be crossed, because this would mean the liquidation of the Palestinian cause. Throughout history, we have never seen displaced Palestinians ever coming back to their homes. So this time would not be any different. And that was the warning that the President gave, that this will not happen, not on my duty, that the Palestinians will enter and not go back to their land. We've heard this before, and it never happened, and it will never happen. The Palestinian has to stay where they are and fight for themselves, and the Israelis have to listen to them and try to find a solution to the turmoil that we are living in. Let's once again recapitulate. The idea and the problem did not start the 7th of October. There is an ongoing occupation for decades. And the world wants to see this end. The whole world, I mean, all the demonstrations that we've seen everywhere, want this to end. I don't want actually to be absorbed very much in the Palestinian cause. We've spoken about it, but at the same time I want to focus on where the President is coming from. Why did he mention the Palestinian cause today? Because he wants to reassure us once again that he is thinking about this issue as well as much as he's thinking also about the economic situations, about the political positions. I mean, we are living in hard times. I mean, look at our borders from the three sides. Well, luckily we have the Mediterranean in the north. But if you look east or west or south, we are having problems. And problems that we did not actually play a role in creating them, but we might be playing a role in trying to solving it. And this is the main problem for us here. Not just that we are suffering from our own and personal economic problems, no, but some other problems will be exported to us, and we'll have also to try to help its citizens to find a resolution to those problems.
Your Excellency, before we get into the tasks ahead, that lie ahead for the Egyptian president, how would you assess the previous almost 10 years now of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi assuming office in terms of achievements, the challenges, the small victories, the difficulties? How would you assess that 10-year period so far that brings us to this victory today? How would you assess the performance of President al-Sisi?
Well, first of all, we have to understand the backgrounds. The backgrounds that we had a period where the state was stagnant. Nothing was moving forward, and everything was frozen. There were rumors about installing the son of the last President Mubarak into power. And then came the Muslim Brotherhood with a horrific year that we suffered a lot during this time. And then tried to combat terrorism at the beginning, and several national projects that were very important, not just for their political or economic value, but just to restore the self-confidence of the Egyptian people. I mean, many people are asking, why couldn't this or that project wait? And I believe that the reason, because we needed this for our own selves. We needed to restore our belief in what we can do, and we understand this. But if we want to give a head or a title to the 10 years that preceded, which is going to be, I think, the infrastructure of Egypt. I think President Sisi realized, as a regular citizen, as he mentioned it before, that Egypt needed a liftover to the whole infrastructure problems that we suffered from. And he said it, actually. He wasn't shy to mention that in order to stay as longer in power, they left the country in dire. It was very simple for him, coming after a revolution and after a turmoil of the Muslim Brotherhood, to take the easy path and just settle and leave things how they are, and the Egyptians are calm and I'm going to be calm and everything is going to be smooth. But from day one he warned us, I don't sleep, I work a lot, and I want people to support me in this kind of behavior. And the Egyptian people understood the message and sustained it and supported it. And I think that the number of voters, as you just mentioned it, shows that actually, although there were difficulties and sometimes we really suffered, but at the end of the day we see a light at the end of the tunnel, and that's what we are hoping to see at the second phase.
Yes.
So the first phase was to reinstate the state as it should be. And this was even mentioned by His Excellency the President, that we forgot how states should look like.
Well, what about, I mean, yourself being a diplomat, what about the foreign affairs file? Because we've went through turbulences within an Arab-led coalition, Saudi Arabia against the Houthi militias, turbulent roller coaster ride with Qatar, the situation with Ukraine, and also strengthening relations with Africa. How would you evaluate this department, the foreign affairs file as well?
First, we were actually attacked by this theory of the coup.
Yes.
If you remember, at the beginning of the revolution of 30th of June. Exactly. So at this moment, we were in our lowest point. And bit by bit, we managed to restore our position everywhere, whether in the Arab world, in the Middle East, or in Africa. Not to mention the relations that were more and more getting to be balanced with the superpowers in the world, with the EU, trying to strengthen the relations not just with Africa, with Asia as well. I mean, we had to play day and night to reassure our position in the world, the position that we have always taken. I mean, it's not something new. Egypt is not a small country, and from here comes its problems and its challenges. They are never small. They are never little, because it's a big country. We are over 100 million now, and we are trying to thrive. We are trying to, with the constructions, with the agriculture, with the industries, with everything, we are trying to get up. And I think that President Sisi, in the next phase after this election, he will be more focused on the economic local problems, if the external problems would leave Egypt alone, which actually I doubt, because we are in an area where it's full of turmoil. And I believe, and I think most of our viewers would agree with me, that the situation in the Middle East will be different after the 7th of October than before the 7th of October. We are going to be witnessing something that's going to be different, maybe reshuffling the whole picture of the Middle East, the whole map of the Middle East. We don't know where it will end. We already suffer from it, because you remember we were asking ourselves, how is this war affecting us? And it's affecting us, as you might have heard. Many ships are switching from using the Suez Canal to Cape of Good Hope by turning around Africa, which will take them even longer to the trip. But they are evaluating their safety more than a shorter trip in an area that is turmoil, although Egypt is not. But as you know, we are talking about billions of dollars involved in commerce and so on, so they want to take the safer road. There are so many challenges that we will have to face, and I'm sure that President Sisi is ready for each and every one of them.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there are many tasks laying ahead, many challenges laying ahead for the next 6 years. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.